Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. My name is Tom Rogers, and I'm the Marketing Manager of Intellitec Solutions. I'll be facilitating the meeting today. A few quick housekeeping items. We have the lines in listen-only mode, but there are a few options for asking questions during the presentation. You can type a question in the question box, and we will address those questions accordingly. Or if there is a question you would prefer to ask verbally, you can use the hand raise function on the left side of your control panel, and we can unmute your line. You can ask your question that way. We will also be unmuting the lines at the end for a question and answer session. And lastly, if you have any problems or issues during the presentation, you can send a question in the chat box, and we will do our best to answer your question. So today, as a special follow-up for leading edge convention attendees, we will be presenting on key features your accounting solution must deliver. Presenting today, we will have Mike Bufano of Intellitec Solutions, our Microsoft Dynamics GP product manager. I believe a number of you met Mike at the Leading Edge show in Denver, but for those who did not, he's been with Intellitec Solutions for 18 years now and has worked on a wide array of Dynamics GP implementations, including quite a number for our clients in the long-term care industry. And as mentioned, today he will be showing some key features that your accounting solution must deliver and how Dynamics GP can help. And with that, I will turn it over to Mike.
Hello. Before we get the presentation turned over to Mike, my name is Rick Sommer. I'm the president of Intellitec Solutions. I just wanted to take a brief moment to thank you for attending this afternoon, and we appreciate the time that you're going to spend together with us. I just wanted to frame up quickly to give you some background about Intellitec Solutions for those of you that did not have a chance to have a dialogue with us at the Leading Edge conference. We've been supporting accounting software systems since 1986. And we've been focused on the long-term care industry since 2005. We are a long-time Microsoft Dynamics partner, and we are certified gold status with Microsoft, which is the highest criteria that you can achieve based upon quality and the work that we do for our clients. We support just over 400 clients on our solutions, and wanted to then go into further background about some of the things that we provided for our clients in the long-term care industry. As I said before, we have extensive experience in implementing our solutions for this industry. Our team of consultants has a lot of experience with the Dynamics GP product, as well as the ins and outs of the requirements of the long-term care industry. Our firm really values and embraces long-term relationships, both with our clients and our employees. As an indicator, I've been with the firm now 26 years, and Mike has been with us for 18. This slide that you're seeing here is just an indicator of some of the clients that we work with, some of our proven success that we've had in implementing our solutions for the industry. Wanted to share some of that information with you. And then as far as the next slide, I also wanted to talk briefly about the Dynamics GP solution and why we're confident that this is a great solution for our clients today, as well as prospective clients that we're talking to who are considering a new accounting software solution for your organization. We feel the Dynamics GP solution is an affordable solution with all the features that are offered. We're able to quickly get our clients up and running. It does scale so that it can grow to organizations that grow from the smallest organizations up to the largest ones that we work with many facilities that they have in their organization. We find that the feedback from our clients is that it's an easy-to-use system. As you see today and down the road, some solutions that we're going to show, you'll see that it mirrors some of the functionality and layouts of the other Microsoft products that you might be using in your organizations, and you'll see the ease of use that it has there. One of the benefits that we find is that you can leverage the other Microsoft technology that you might already be using in your organizations, such as Office or SharePoint, and be able to have Dynamics GP integrate very well with those solutions. What we also find is that we're able to provide a best-of-breed financial accounting solution for our clients, where 50,000 plus users are using the Dynamics GP solution in the marketplace today. Microsoft continues to invest a lot of research and development into the product, and our clients are able to take advantage of that. Coupled with that best-of-breed in the industry solution for financial solutions for our clients, Intellitec solution itself brings a tremendous amount of long-term care experience to the table, and we're able to leverage our years of working with the long-term care industry with work products and reports and customizations and integrations that we bring to the table that really extend Dynamics GP and add the needed functionality that our clients have indicated they need in the long-term care industry. So we're very confident that we have a wonderful solution for our clients and prospects. We have an incredibly experienced and wonderful team on board here at Intellitec that we have a proven success with clients in the industry. And from our strategic standpoint, it is our primary focus goal for our growth going forward is to continue to expand with our long-term care senior living clients that we have. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mike Bufano for his part of the presentation.
Thanks, Rick. Today, as we look at Dynamics GP, you will see how we have helped both single and multi-company long-term care organizations become more effective by partnering with them to solve the following common business challenges: financial and non-financial reporting, budgeting, integration, procurement, and fixed assets. And our unique experience combined with our years of experience with long-term care clients results in their success. So let's start with a look at financial reporting. Our clients require flexible reporting to meet a variety of reporting needs. And our slides will show a few of the many types of financial reports that you might have. While we won't cover all the reports, during a normal implementation, we do compile a complete list of all of your reporting needs. All organizations have some form of a profit and loss. Some refer to it as a statement of operations, others a statement of activities, and then others a statement of changes in net assets. There's also going to be some form of balance sheet that's needed, or perhaps a statement of net assets. Cash flow is the #1 request that we have. Most organizations tell us that their current systems cannot automatically produce a cash flow, and that they're doing this in Excel, if they're doing it at all. And the same goes for ratio analysis. Organizations are looking for effective ratio analysis. So end users, there's a variety of end users that need reports, and so your report writing tools need to be very flexible to meet all of the competing interests. So obviously I've mentioned some GAAP financial reporting needs, but there's also tax reporting needs, such as a 990 if you're not-for-profit. There's internal reporting needs, such as board reporting and departmental reporting. Additionally, you have other external types of reporting, such as banks if you have any debt covenant ratios that you need to cover, and other government reporting, such as Medicare and Medicaid cost reporting. So what we have on the screen here is an example of a statement of operations that you might see from a long-term care facility. So on the left-hand side, you'll have the R&B revenue, followed by a listing of the expenses summarized by department, then followed on down by non-departmental and non-operating type expenses. And then you can clearly see that this report is a budget versus actual report. And so a report like this can be rendered for an individual facility, or it can be rendered for more than one facility, as shown in this presentation. And actually, this presentation is actually consolidated reporting, so we can actually show all of the CCRCs in one column rolled up with their respective eliminations, multiple assisted living facilities, affordable housings, and then, of course, the foundation, as you can see here. Here's an example of the cash flow, and again, this report can be rendered for an individual unit or for multiple units, and again, we have a consolidated representation of a cash flow. And this, of course, can be shown from a month-to-date or a year-to-date standpoint. Here's an example of just some out-of-the-box ratios that can be set up to be reported on, again, on an individual basis, or in this case, we're showing the multiple organizations in columnar format for comparative purposes. So I'm going to actually, at this point, I'm going to jump over into a live screen of Management Reporter and just show some additional functionality that you would expect to get from a solution like Management Reporter. So the Management Reporter, first off, the way that reports are accessed from Management Reporter that works with Dynamics GP is through a web browser or an application interface such as what we see here. Whether it's through a web browser or through this utility, it's almost identical. The first report we're going to take a look at is very simple. It's it's a month-to-date, year-to-date report, and what you'll notice here is we have our revenue and then our expenses down below. And so a utility like this needs to have good drill down. And so here we have some summarized information, and if we want to look at a particular line, we can double click on that and we'll be able to see all of the account numbers that are included that make up that summarized line. And then we can continue to drill down into the report, and from that point then we would see all the account transactions that make up that entry. Some of the other functionality that a good utility should have, again, whether it's from a web browser or from this application, should be the ability to export from Excel. So we can click on Excel and that information will go to Excel. And that would include not only the main report, but all of the supporting account numbers that we just drilled into, as well as all the supporting account transaction details. We also have the ability to add a comment directly on the report. And this allows us to describe and share with others that might be viewing this report on the web the reasons for the change in this particular line item. Another powerful feature with the Management Reporter is to be able to do graphing. So we can select a row or a column and immediately convert that into a chart. And then from here, we have additional capability. We can change the chart into different types. We can include and exclude different types of information that might be on there that we don't want to have on that report. Lastly, and again, this is consistent functionality that would be available in both the web browser version as well as the version you're seeing here, is we can copy a link or we can email this report to other users throughout the organization. And this, when they go to open that report, the security is going to be enforced within the report. So if a report is actually received in an email by somebody that shouldn't get it, if they don't have permission on the back end to the report, no data is going to be rendered. Moving away from the financial reports and into the non-financial reports, GP comes with a lot of predefined reports out of the box. So what you'll see here is you'll see that there's a folder here on a web browser where I can see all my financial reports, my purchasing reports. And when I go in there, you're going to see that there's all kinds of reports that are available out of the box. And these reports are easy for a user with little or no training to be able to get to the data that they want. So simply by filling out some simple drop-downs, they can then view the report and see the report on screen. Now, the report's only going to show, again, the data that they have permission to. So you can restrict the data on the back end to specific areas, whether it be specific entities or specific departments. And lastly, again, you're going to be able to see that we can export this to Excel, and when that's rendered to Excel, it's going to already be pre-formatted to look exactly like the original report that was in SSRS. Continuing with that idea of having a tight integration of reports in Excel, the GP comes out of the box with about 120 different predefined reports that are persistently linked to all areas of the system. So what we have here is we have a report where we just pulled out 22,000 lines of data in a split second directly in Excel. And so this is a little bit different than the typical exports to Excel, because once you export it to the Excel, the data is out of date, the Excel report's out of date, and you need to repeat that export process. Well, these reports are persistently connected to the data so that when we refresh the report, that data immediately refreshes and pulls from the database. Okay. So I'm now going to transition and start to talk a little bit more about the Dynamics GP product. So we began with the end in mind. We began with some financial reporting examples as well as some non-financial reporting examples. But they are really dependent upon a solid chart of account foundation. When a user logs into GP, they're going to be presented with their home page. And their home page is going to contain their favorite metric or graph, their favorite reports, and their favorite shortcuts within the application. And then on the left-hand side are going to be different places that they can navigate to. So they can navigate to the financial area page or the purchasing area page, which is primarily where most of our long-term care clients utilize GP. And of course, there's some drop-down menus across the top that allows them to also access GP in this manner. When they go into an area page, they're going to see that all area pages are laid out consistently, and this allows them to become very familiar with the navigation in GP very quickly. So there's going to be a place where they would do transactions, so you would expect that they would do journal entries in this space, and the cards is where they would set up account numbers. Similarly, when they navigate to the purchasing area page, they would see the same transactions and cards, and the cards would be where they would go and set up their vendors. I'm going to slide back to the PowerPoint to talk a little bit more about the chart of accounts, because again, that provides that good structure provides the basis for all the reporting requirements for an organization. So the chart of account structure is very flexible. In this screenshot here, you can see that we can have a maximum account length of 66 characters and a maximum number of segments of 10. Each individual segment can be a total of 10 characters. And in the example that we have here, then this is pretty typical for a long-term care organization. We typically see some kind of entity or facility as the first segment, a department, a natural account, and then perhaps a level of care coding on the fourth segment. Typically, the long-term care organizations that I've worked with have anywhere from 3 to 5 segments. And we typically get into a discussion with organizations during our implementation on whether or not they want to convert the old chart of account to a new chart of account number. A lot of organizations started out smaller and have grown significantly since the last time they implemented their systems, and their current systems don't provide them the ability to effectively add new accounts or to add additional segments. So what they end up with in their present state is kind of a chart of account number or structure that you need a secret decoder ring to really understand. I can tell you I've gone into a lot of long-term care organizations, and I'm looking at their chart of accounts, and for whatever reason, an O2 all of a sudden, an account that begins with O2 represents a P&L account. So it doesn't really facilitate an entry-level accountant coming in and just hitting the ground running and really understanding how the account structure is laid out. In any event, most of the time we sit down and re-engineer the chart of accounts with our customers and try to take advantage of the reporting enhancements that are built into Dynamics GP. What we have here is we have an example of what an account setup screen looks like. And so this particular account is for an independent living room and board account. And so all the categories themselves can be used to drive the financial reporting, although they don't need to. and they can be user-defined, or you can use the out-of-the-box categories. Some of the information on here is self-explanatory, such as the posting type and the typical balance. But we have some nice features also with the user-defined fields, and those user-defined fields can track things such as the old account number as represented here. And that allows the organization utilizing GP to enter the data with either the old account number or the new account number, so that speeds up the adoption of the new system. The old account number, being part of the new system, can also be used as a translation table when you're creating an integration or an interface with other systems throughout the organization. And if you have changed account numbers, you don't necessarily have to go back and update those other systems with the new account number because of this translation ability. Some of the other reasons that we might use the user-defined fields is to accommodate some of the reporting that you might have for your cost reporting, your Medicaid state cost reporting, or your Medicare reporting. One of the other areas that is significant about GP is, and it's related to the chart of account setup, is we can also track statistical information in our chart of accounts, and you can see some examples here. So typically, we'll get asked to track census information either on a daily or monthly basis, and it could be things like available days versus actual days, and we'll. When we talk about integrations, we can also talk about how we can integrate that census information into our system. By having the census information or statistical information in our system, it allows us to easily include that information on some of the financial reports that we saw earlier. I'm now going to transition back into Dynamics, and we're going to go into a journal entry screen just to kind of give you some familiarity with how the data entry would flow. On your screen, you can see the basic journal entry screen that the accountant might use. And the bold red that you see on the screen are the required fields. And that bold red is consistent for every screen that a user might use. And this speeds up the learning of the new system and allows them to more quickly fill out the screen. The colors are user-definable, so you can choose your own colors if you want. You're going to notice that there's some magnifying glasses. That's for lookup. And you're going to see that there's some hyperlinks that take you to other parts of the system. So that, again, is consistent among all of the different data entry screens. And here is a journal entry that's already filled out. And so you can see that we have a transaction date. You can see that it has a reference. You can see the account numbers here. And you can see that the system sums up the debits and credits for you, and you can easily see that the journal entry is in balance. The GP will never let you post to the application if it isn't unbalanced, but it will allow you to save it to work on it later. You can also see that we have the ability to do standard and reversing entries. And if you so choose, we can actually do recurring. Multi-entity organizations face the challenge of recording entries across multiple organizations. They have a hard time doing this efficiently. These organizations may have centralized purchasing, centralized accounts payable, or centralized banking needs. Entries recorded across entries require that intercompany entries are made to keep the general ledger trial balance in balance. And so in our experience, a lot of organizations for some organizations, this is time consuming, as the intercompany entry needs to be manually calculated and added to an existing transaction because their current system won't support or provide that functionality. Some companies perform this type of entry at the end of the month. Either way, either of these manual methods can result in errors. And so resulting time, additional time would be needed to correct them. And so what you're looking at here on the screen is a vendor invoice that has been entered, and that invoice is for $1,000. And so if we just presume for a moment that in this scenario the first segment represents the entity, in total we have a balanced journal entry, but across the individual entities that entry would not be balanced. And so what GP would do in a situation like this is GP will actually add the automatic due tos and due froms. And you can see that this is evidenced here by the posting journal that I've included as part of the screenshot. So having this ability to automatically add and balance the due to and due from parts of an intercompany entry reduces or eliminates errors and improves accuracy and saves time. We're now going to move on to one of the budgeting areas. And our clients tell us that they need robust budget capabilities. Now, we have both a simple and a complex solution that all of our long-term clients have embraced. So we're going to start with the simple solution. And you have here an example of an Excel file that is really the end result of a budget that's already been kind of assembled and created. So typically, the process that we hear from our clients is they have these complicated Excel spreadsheets on perhaps a departmental basis that they send out to particular users or department heads throughout the organization, and they ask them to fill them out. Now, their spreadsheets are typically linked multiple times, but ultimately they are linked to a sheet like this where the information comes back, and we have the account number on the left side and the months and the periods across the top. And so GP can take a file like this, and we can import this directly into our application with a wizard. And what's nice about this particular simple application of this process is that if we send out multiple files to different department heads, we can get back multiple files, and we do not need to manually combine them. We can import each of the individual Excel files into GP, and it will update the same budget if that's our intent. So GP will allow us to import into multiple budgets if we so desire as well. Additionally, we offer a more sophisticated approach to budgeting. And so for those clients whose Excel processes have gotten so complicated and it takes too much effort to constantly update all of the links amongst all of the different Excel files that might be involved in their process, they're ready for something different, something that allows statements. In this example that we have on the screen here, we're looking specifically at the revenue part of of the budget, and this is really what we call an input sheet. And so somebody that has the capability or the ability to, or responsibility to populate this might fill out what their census is for these particular areas and what their reimbursement rates are. And the system is going to automatically calculate and roll up that information into a total line. Once they've completed their part of the data entry or input, they would submit this budget for approval, and then the next person who would be responsible for the approval would receive an email that they have the budget's been submitted, and then integrate with other systems. Example of those systems include clinical packages such as Vision, the Healthmatics product, payroll such as Ceridian, ADP, or UltiPro if it's an on-premise solution, banking systems if they have positive pay needs, electronic banking or EFT reporting needs, or electronic bank reconciliation. If the long-term care organization has a gift shop, they may have a point-of-sale system that might be integrated. Obviously, we're serving meals on-premise, and so there may be some integration with the dining software as well so that we can record the activity from that system as well. Additionally, there's going to be integrations from Excel, perhaps a pharmacy if we're not running it through the Vision or clinical package, or if you have any other kind of medical billing that might not be running through your clinical package. We've seen situations where that is the case. And we understand that the types of transactions that these systems produce and how this data from these other systems, how this data should end up in GP. Normally, it's a journal entry, but sometimes it's a bank transaction, especially if there's cash involved. When we go through an implementation with our clients, it's important that we understand how timely this information is. So if it's, just by example, if it's a cash type transaction and we want GP to provide to us or track for us the cash balance, we're going to want to get that information in on a daily basis. The advantage to doing something like that is is to have one place to rely on to manage our cash, eliminate redundant data entry, and eliminate the need for all spreadsheet type Excel sheets that we might be using today that our clients may have previously used to track cash, but that gets eliminated with a properly configured integration. Integrations can be invoked manually, or they can be scheduled, and they can be automated. And again, it depends on the ROI that a customer, it really depends on what problem is that the customer is trying to solve. I'm going to jump over into GP and just simply, actually I'm going to jump down to the Healthmatics example of an integration with Healthmatics. So the Healthmatics integration may happen at various levels. Here we have an example of something that would happen monthly. Now, other than basically the screen that you're seeing here is the configuration screen. So an end user really doesn't need to know anything about this screen. But essentially this screen is aware of where the source file is for the monthly integration, and it properly maps it to the appropriate part within Dynamics. And an end user, all they would need to do, if in this particular situation, since it's a manual process, the end user would simply click the Run button, and the information will be imported in from the Healthmatics application. There is a daily integration that we've built and designed, and it does update the cache on a daily basis. It can be fully automated, and organizations, especially multi-company organizations, have found that to be extremely beneficial because they have multiple checkbooks across all the organizations that have to be updated. And since we're already entering the cash receipts in the Healthmatics application in their AR module, it would eliminate the redundant data entry to have to enter that again in either a spreadsheet or an accounting package. So this eliminates that redundancy. And then it allows us to keep enough lost. So what we have on the screen here is we kind of have a flow chart of the typical requisitioning process that somebody would want to do via a web browser. So we want to have the ability to designate users with appropriate permissions, create a from a drop-down list of items. It might be just free-form text, but we want to have an ability for them to create that requisition. And once they're ready to, once they finalize that requisition, so once they submit it based upon whatever the workflow rules are, and those can be based on dollar amount, somebody they report to, maybe the type of item that it is, maybe it's capital, it goes one way, if it's office supplies, it goes a different way. Or perhaps it's the account number that they chose. All of those factors and many others can determine what the workflow routing goes. In any event, an email is generated, and it's going to go to that approver or approvers. And then they'll approve or reject that item. And once they've done that, then eventually it ends up in purchasing, and a PO gets created, and it gets electronically delivered to the vendor, who then ships the goods, and we go through a receiving process. So this is a screenshot of what that requisitioner might experience as they're looking at that. So in this screen here, you can see where they're giving it a title. They can click on the new item. You can see there's an existing item here. They can print out the requisition themselves and track it if they want to have a piece of paper, although they don't want to. The system will provide for them a queue to come back and check up on the status of it. Then at the bottom right, you can see that they have a Save or Submit button. And that kind of describes the web-based requisitioning process. What's additional, what you can't see on the screen here, but some additional benefits that our organizations have realized is we can add the ability to validate a requisition against the remaining budget. And in this manner, requisitioners or approvers are proactively making sure that they have available budget before they spend the money, before they approve the requisition, and it helps them to better control their costs. The last area that I'm going to cover today is fixed assets. And for those organizations that have fixed assets, typically what they're doing is they have a process where at the end of the month, they look at some fixed asset balance sheet accounts, figure out what's hit those accounts, and then rekey that information into their fixed asset package, run their depreciation, and then manually come back and make that entry into their particular accounting solution. What's a little bit different with the Microsoft Dynamics product is that our fixed asset solution is integrated with both the purchase order and the accounts payable systems. So when an account, when an AP clerk enters an invoice and codes it against a fixed asset account, that information is captured and queued up. So when the accountant comes in at the end of the month, they're going to see a list of fixed assets that whose setup completion needs to be done. So the accountant would come in, they might assign a class ID as you see on this paper, and then on the next screen here, they would assign or change the remaining useful life and things of that nature. Things are more depreciation related. And all of the information about that transaction from the original data entry is captured. So the originating cost is captured, the original vendor, the original invoice number, and all of that is actually hyperlinked and attached to this document so that at any point an accountant or anybody in the system with permission can view how this asset originated. This is also beneficial when we're dealing with CIP assets. You can have multiple purchases added to an existing asset, and that asset, of course, would not be placed in service if it was a CIP asset. And so at any point, if there were 100 different transactions, you would have hyperlinks to every one of those transactions. Continuing on with the thoughts around fixed assets and some of the things that our long-term care clients have told us, they need a way to track the asset purchases against a capital year budget line item. And so fixed assets comes with 15 user-defined fields, and in this screenshot you can see how we've adapted this to that need. So it's one thing to capture the information from the transaction, but then on the other side of that, as a normal part of their monthly procedure, our clients are producing summarized and detailed capital budget versus actual reporting. So that information, as the asset is set up and captured, it's going to automatically update these reports. Notice I said automatically. Statement, for example, the statement of operations, the cash flows, the ratio reports. We talked about having ease of access to those reports through a web browser and having the ability to get that information into Excel easily, and having those Excel spreadsheets persistently connected to that data so that when the next time you open that Excel spreadsheet, it's updated in real time. We talked about having organizations, multi-company organizations having the need to automatically create the intercompany entries and the benefit to an organization without having to manually add that information to their transactions. We talked about two different processes to accommodate the budgeting for a long-term client. We talked about not only the integrations with the clinical package, but integrations in total, whether they be payroll integrations, integrations from Excel, dining systems, and other systems that an organization might have. We talked about the benefits of having a paperless, about having the ability to paperlessly requisition and approve purchases and have that
You see my screen? Mm-hmm. Okay. Apologize for the glitch there. And we do have one question right off the bat. Came a little bit earlier in the session. We covered this a little bit, but the question, I guess, was, can this integrate with our other clinical packages, I guess, like health medics and that sort of thing? So maybe we could talk a little bit about the ways we integrate with that.
So during an implementation, we spend usually a couple hours with a client looking at all of the integration points in the system. So Essentially, if we can get the data, or if your staff can get the data out of that system easily, then the answer is yes, we can build an integration either with manual intervention or automated to Dynamics. And again, it's going to depend on how sensitive that information is and how what benefit you get from having that resulting reporting updated. So an example that comes to mind right off the top of my head is ADL. I know we've recently done an implementation where they're eventually going to phase in the Vision product, but they're not there yet with Vision. They're not live with Vision. So we're actively having their clinical information ported over into Dynamics on a regular basis. I think we're doing it actually weekly at this point.
Okay, great. The lines are off mute now if you want to ask a question verbally. If you want to type a question into the chat box, please feel free to do so. We'll give a minute or so here if anybody has any questions they want to ask. And of course, thank you everybody for your taking time out of your day today. And we'll leave the lines open for another moment or so here. If you have any questions, feel free to type it into the chat box, or you can drop mute. All right. Okay, well, again, if there's no other questions, thank you everybody for your time today. And we will be sending out some follow-up materials on this presentation. We'd love to speak with you on a one-off basis. We have our contact information on the screen there, so feel free to email or call or visit our website. And again, if there are any questions, feel free to chime in now or contact us after the session. Okay, well, I guess in that case, thanks everybody for your time today. And again, any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out and contact us. And with that, we will